Welcome to Girlfriend's Bible Study, a live Bible study with Connie and friends. Each week, Connie and her girlfriends engage in a lively conversation as they read and study scripture. So grab a pen, your journal, and your best friend and enjoy this enlightening Bible study.
It's good to see you. Realized I left my music on. I need to turn that off. Okay. My girl over here, tell her to pause that music. I hope you're all doing well today, this Thursday. I'm doing well. I've had a great day. I'm doing well. And I'm reading a lot in the news about politics and the election and all the things and wanting to overturn and are they going to dispute results and just so much. You know what? There's still nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. This is not new. This is not new. People not wanting people to be in power and leadership, saying it's not fair, thinking about David and Saul and how Saul, his time was up. Was up. God said it's up, we're done. He would not let it go. He was supposed to step down and would not let it go. It happened way back in 1 Samuel. So none of this is new. What I was really impressed to share with you tonight, the message for tonight is called Be Excellent Anyway. Be excellent anyway. Often our parents would tell us, do the right thing and right things will flow. And there's some truth to that. It's not a lie. Do good and do good will flow. Reap what you sow. We know that's true. It doesn't mean that you won't go through trials and tribulations. It doesn't mean that people will always like you. It doesn't mean that you won't have enemies. Even doing the right thing, even being excellent, you can still have enemies. I had several jobs. My sister has mentioned this to me too in the past, several jobs where somebody has said, I'm working so hard, you're making the rest of us look bad. I wasn't trying to make anyone look bad. I was just doing what I do, working how I work. It wasn't out them. And yet somebody's been upset. Not because I'm doing anything wrong, but because I'm doing something right. And that happens all the time. It's a form of jealousy, the wrong kind. Gina and I did a study during one of the Bible study lives on jealousy versus envy. And I'm almost sure that envy is the one we're talking about here, not jealousy. But I'd have to look it up. I don't want to get back into the middle of it and try to unravel that. Gina may remember. But it's the way we think of jealousy when somebody wants what you have, that type of jealousy. And really, I think that's envy. That's what we believe we came to is the scripture says that our God is a jealous God. Different. So I'm going to let one of my sisters in. And once she comes on the screen, we'll keep going here. All right, she's coming in. I'm going to pay myself. All right, so welcome to my sister. Good to see you. Hi. So I'm talking about being excellent anyway, Latrice, and how often we feel like bad things come when we're not excellent, but sometimes we have enemies because we are excellent. And people get mad, they get jealous of what we're doing, and they decide to trip us up, not because we're doing something wrong, not because we're doing, and it's one thing when somebody's picking on you because you're the slowest, because you're the sloppiest, because you're the whatever it is, but there are times when they will come after you because you're the best at what you do. Come after you because of jealousy. There are multiple times in the Bible that happens, even right from the very beginning with Cain and Abel. Adam and Eve had 2 children, right? They just had 2 boys. That's it. And seriously, at that point, it's just them. But still, Cain was not happy. Abel was doing so well with his offering versus Cain's offering, and then decided to kill him for it. Not because of anything that Abel did to Cain, but out of jealousy. How come you always doing it right? You always got to be giving the fat meat and doing the thing. Mad. Instead of upping his game, he decided I'm gonna take Abel out. That happens a lot. It happens in modern day times when you might be doing all the right things and somebody sees you doing the right thing and they decide, you're my enemy. I want to see you fail. I want to see you fail. I had a relative I thought was kind, thought she was being kind, helping me out during a difficult time. Instead, she said, I wanted to help you because I said, ooh, how the mighty have fallen. That's what you get because it looked like you had everything. Now that you need help, I'm so glad to see that you're struggling. And I'm looking at her like, are you kidding? Just wanted to see you fail. You had it all. Wow. Wow. It's me. It's real. That's real. That's human nature, right from Cain and Abel, right from the beginning. There's some human nature nonsense right there. Obviously, we're not close. I really, because, who would do that? I don't understand. It's not how I think. It's not how I think. So I was looking at the scripture. I was really thinking about people out there trying to do good work and people are just coming at them. Everything they do, everything they say, being maligned and attacked. They're the good one at the company. I don't understand it, except it's there. There's nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. So take a look at Daniel 6 with me. This is a very familiar story. We all know it. Daniel in the lion's den. We know it. We talk about it. We teach it to our kids and all of that. But really take a look at what happened. Then compare it to what's going on in modern day. So in Daniel 6, it says, please Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom. So he's got 120 leaders in his country, in his kingdom, right? With 3 administrators over them, one of whom was Daniel. So these are, of the thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, we don't even know how many, 120 leaders, and then there are 3 administrators, and one of them is Daniel. The satraps were made accountable to them so that the king might not suffer loss. So he's got these 3 administrators, like you keep an eye on them, what they need, check on them, do what you do, manage, right? Now, Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. This administrators, both the administrators, his peers, and the satraps who reported to him tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel, his conduct of government affairs, but they were unable to do so. Looking for stuff. What can we say he did wrong? We got to trip him up on something. He's got to have done something wrong. We got to find something. Why? Why can't you just mind your business and do what you do? His promotion has nothing to do with you. If you were doing what he was doing, you'd get promoted. Why you got to tear him down? Why? That's what happens. That's what happens in the workplace. That's what happens in politics. People are just trying to do what they do, and then here comes somebody. You're going to be excellent. Oh, what? We're going to tear that down. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy, neither corrupt nor negligent. Finally, these men said, we will never find any basis for charges against this man Daniel unless it has something to do with the law of his God. Why they say separation of church and state, because people get in your business. We're gonna attack you based on your beliefs. Let's figure out if we can do this based on the law of your God. How cruel is that? How cruel is that? There's no corruption, there's no negligence, you can find no wrongdoing, but they're still scheming. How can we take this man down? We got to find something. You know what? We can get him through the law of his God. Just think about that. Think about us as believers, and we're trying to be excellent, trying to do the right thing, trying to uphold God's word. And somebody's like, oh, well, maybe you're this, maybe you're that, maybe you're intolerant, maybe you believe this, maybe also you believe in slavery because there were slaves in the Bible. Just looking for something in the law of our God trying to trip us up. Looking for something. because we're trying to be excellent, which is why the message today is called Be Excellent Anyway. Stay excellent. Just be excellent anyway. So in verse 6 of Daniel 6, it says, so the administrators and the satraps went as a group to the king and said, oh, King Darius, live forever. Yeah, what? Royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have all agreed the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any god or man during the next 30 days, except to you, O king, shall be thrown into the lion's den. Now, O king, issue the decree, put it in writing so that it cannot be altered, in accordance with the laws of the Medes and the Persians, cannot be repealed. So King Darius put the decree in writing. So they came, they blew smoke, he bought it, like, oh, absolutely. Everybody should only bow to me. Like, yes, where's my pen? Where's my royal? Really? You got that ego, right? That's what you decide you got to do. Think about this. They can't get their own way. They will change the law to do it. You talk about gerrymandering and things like that. When they change the rules, what a polling precinct is, how many votes this area gets. Oh man, we can't get the people we want in there. Let's just, what we should do, change rules. Just change rules. Just say that's not the area anymore. Let's just change the rules. They can't win by correct means. When they can't do the right, they will change the law and cheat to do it. Anyone. It's not just Republican, Democrat. People have done this historically. When they can't get it, I was just sharing with somebody recently, when slavery ended, they could no longer have free Black labor. That was not working any longer. They said, here's, we can create a loophole. If they go to jail, then they can still be free Black labor. They go to jail. Then they have to change laws. What? Okay, so let's go to jail if they're loitering, go to jail for that. They don't have proper ID on them, they literally find you. We want free Black labor. We want this. We want our slaves. You've taken our slaves, you changed the law for the right reason, done the right thing. How can we fix the law so we can still get our free Black labor? Let's build some prisons. We can put them in prison. Anybody in prison, now we got a business. You got prisoners, then we got laborers. We'll pay you X amount of money. You build a bigger prison. Make sure you get them in jail. If you look at it, it's all tied together. It's all tied together. Then don't stop having babies, because we need you to have some babies so we can get them in prison, because we're not going to give you the means or the education or the health care. So, what's going to happen? You're going to have these babies, and then we got a place for them. We need to feed that pipeline. That we're just going to set a new rule. Let's put a new rule in place. That's how it happened. It's people scheming. You're trying to just be excellent. My thing is, excellent anyway, as people are going to scheme against you. I learned about a boomerang prayer recently. I think I'm not going to be using that. All of y'all need to start using this boomerang prayer. Yeah, that little scheme you got going, I'm going to bounce that right back on your forehead. I'm just saying, let me calm myself down. All right. In verse 10, now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. He didn't change anything in his behavior. He's still doing what he'd always done, and on his knees, praying to his God 3 times a day. He didn't change. He didn't say, well, if they're going to do that, then I'm going to do this. He didn't do that. He said, I am going to be excellent anyway. I'm going to stay in faith. I'm going to do what I know is right anyway. But, here they are scheming. Then these men went as a group, right? Now you got a band of culprits. It's like a gang. When there's a group, it's a gang. It's a gang. They get the gang goes to the king. It's law, king. Then the gang goes to Daniel's house. Gang. When there's a group. Seriously? Found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So they went to the king, spoke to him about his royal decree. Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, they only needed a month, y'all. In the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or man except to you, O king, would be thrown into the lion's den? King answered, decree stands in accordance with the laws of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed. Then they said to the king, Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O king, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day. When the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. He, writing a check your butt can't. So he did this. His ego was fed the law that everybody should bow to you. Okay. And now he wants to repeal it. And it's like, oh man, I was so moved by my ego that I put this in place. And now the person is his right-hand man. One he planned to put over the entire kingdom because he did so well, worked so excellently, had no negligence, no corruption in him. Now he's got to throw him into the Lion King. His own doing from his own ego, because these guys, out of jealousy, are mad because Daniel's excellent. He got to be excellent and we're not. At the beginning of this, I was talking about how people have told us, can you not work so hard? You working so hard. Can you not? You're making us look bad. So it says, verse 15, then the men went as a group to the king and said to him, remember, O king, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, no decree or edict that the king issues can be changed. They got him all caught up in the loop. He's in the loophole now, like, you wrote it, can't change it. Done said it now. Seriously? So the king gave the order. And they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, may your God, whom you serve, continually rescue you. A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring, with the rings of his nobles, so that Daniel's situation might not be changed. Then the king returned to his palace. He spent the night without eating and without any entertainment being brought to him. We're not going to talk about that right now. He could not sleep. Tormented by his own decision, by his own law, his own corrupt, ego-driven law. Tormented, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and couldn't have no entertainment. At the first light of dawn, King got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions? Daniel answered, O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and he shut the mouths of the lion. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, O king. Like, you got to give an accounting for that too. You threw me in here. You didn't go there, but I'm just saying, made it clear. I ain't done nothing to you either, bruh. King was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. When Daniel was lifted from the den, no wound was found on him because he had trusted in his God. At the king's command, now listen to what this says. The men who had falsely accused Daniel, didn't falsely accuse him. It really wasn't false. They accused him of praying to somebody else, but he did. That's not what happened. So he said falsely in NIV, but it says in King James Version, and the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, not falsely. So honestly, it wasn't false. What they said he did, he did. He prayed to somebody other than Darius. That had really happened. It wasn't false. But they were brought in and thrown into the lion's den along with their wives and children. That's jacked up. It's like you and all your brood, all y'all, you know, coming. I don't want to hear nothing about no revenge from your sons later. All y'all get in there. And before they reached the floor of the den, Lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. That boomerang prayer. See, this is what happened. That's what had happened. Daniel's down there walking with Jesus, all of that, talking to him and praying that boomerang. Just like it, you know what happened with Mordecai. Not with Mordecai, with Haman. Mordecai and Haman. What Haman had planned for Mordecai, boomerang. Hang him on the gallows he built for Mordecai. What these guys had made, they had this thing ready for Daniel. Now here they are. Same with the guys who got burned up trying to, burn up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They got burned up. I said boomerang prayer. It's biblical, y'all. What you meant for evil, that's going to come back. It says your enemies will be your footstools. It's that kind of stuff. Not just somebody who doesn't like you. Somebody who means you harm when you're just trying to be excellent. Boomerang. Then King Darius wrote to all the peoples, nations, and men of every language throughout the land. May you prosper greatly. I issue a decree. In every part of my kingdom, people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His dominion will never end. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. That's that boomerang prayer, y'all. And as much as it's hard, like I said, you want to think, oh, well, just trying to do the right thing. Therefore, since I'm doing the right thing, only good things will follow. No, there's some people who will hate you because you're doing the right thing, and they may come against you. That boomerang prayer. Whatever, put your full armor of God on, Ephesians 6, on the full armor of God, then let that stuff ricochet and knock them right upside their own head. They're willing and wishing you evil. They're trying to do evil to you for doing good. Doing good. Don't let it work. Like I said, it's always that jealousy happened in Daniel 3 with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. As I mentioned in Genesis 4 with Cain and Abel. He's just mad. How come his offering's so good? Abel's not doing a doggone thing to him. David and Saul. Saul got jealous. David has slain his tens. I've slain my thousands. He's slain his tens of thousands. What? Mad. All David is doing, he does. No, King, I just want to honor you. Here, marry my daughter. I don't even want to do that. I am not good enough. I am a lowly peasant. I just trying to be good. Granted, he had some issues later, but at this point, he was just trying to be good. 1 Samuel 18. Then we know about Joseph. Joseph's a little bit trickier. Still comes from jealousy, but Joseph, he's telling his brothers, you're going to bow down to me. Okay, so that might have been a little bit of a reason, but in general, still came from jealousy. All he was trying to do was the right thing. So my message is, you got to be excellent anyway. Daniel didn't compromise. He said that he wasn't negligent. There was no corruption in him. He just kept doing the right thing. He had on that full armor of God. He was protected in that lion's den, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were protected in that fiery furnace. It said it didn't even have a smell of smoke on them when they came out. Just kept doing the right thing. They said, our God is able to save us. But even if he does not, I will not bow down and worship you. We will be excellent anyway. We're going to stay excellent. We're going to keep doing the right thing anyway. That's what we're talking about. Excellent anyway. Be excellent anyway, even when somebody else isn't. Even when somebody's mad at you because you're being excellent. Be excellent anyway. Stay the course. Be excellent anyway. Because people will try to change laws and do all kinds of wrong things to come at you. Poor Abel. He was first, one of the firstborn. He didn't know nothing about putting on some full armor of God. Cain went to kill him. That was just it. He was gone. Now we learn, you know what? The God we serve can protect me. We need to hold on to that. Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Be excellent anyway. It doesn't matter what peer pressure says. It doesn't matter who's coming against you. Just know, I'll put on that full armor of God, like it says in Ephesians 6. I'm going to keep walking my path, even though there are times it hurts. It hurts when you're trying to do a right thing and somebody comes against you for doing right. It hurts. There's no question. That's why I believe Daniel was like, I didn't do nothing to you either. You found no fault in me. And I You know he had to be hurt. Seriously, Darius? I'm your number one guy in your right arm, and you done thrown me into the lions. Seriously? Can't feel good. Can't possibly feel good. Excellent anyway. Anyway, I'm going to bring my beautiful sisters onto the screen. Hello, beautiful sister. Oh, you look so pretty in your blue, Latrice.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
I shouldn't have said that on camera. Thank you.
I didn't hear what you said, so hopefully they didn't either. Thank you sounds good.
Hi, Gina.
She must be on her phone. She's muted and she's got her logo up. Sister.
My phone keeps ringing. I keep sending them a voicemail. They've called twice now. If they call back, I'm going to have to see who it is.
Okay. They really need you.
Yeah, they seem to.
Any thoughts about tonight's study? Anything you want to share?
No, it was right on time. Directly relates to some things I'm going through at work. And you're right, when you're coming in and you're trying to do your best and give your all, and you have been sought out to bring your expertise to the table, and there's pushback. You try to keep your confidence, but after a while, you hop off that Zoom call and it's just like, what just happened? But I'm staying prayerful, and you're right, be great anyway. And I'm just continuing to do what I know God has placed me there to do. And I am receiving favor with the entire national management team. So that's a blessing. So those stories make you realize and remember that you're not alone. And it's been going on forever and a day. I was talking to my sister today, and we were talking about hardship. And, she was saying, when you think about what some of the people in the Bible went through, and I said, think about what Jesus went through. Let's just start there, right? So, the sacrifice that Jesus made for us, nothing that we can go through in the day to day can compare at all. When you put it in perspective, you just stand tall, say your prayers, put on that full armor of God, keep that confidence, and know that you are great and continue to be great anyway.
You got to do it. You got to do it. Just strive for excellence anyway. And there are times when you're looking at, and I've been there and had workers and leaders and people who are just coming, and I'm thinking, I haven't done anything to you. Like, why are you trying to, you want to see me, what are you doing? Why do you keep coming against me? It's biblical. It's biblical from day one. It's biblical right from jump. Just be excellent anyway. But recognize it doesn't mean it's not going to hurt. It doesn't mean that.
Mm-hmm.
And people are so, they're intimidated. They've been doing things the way they've been doing them for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And they may have tried some things that didn't work. And and whenever anybody new comes in with new ideas, it's intimidating, and I think how you respond to that says a lot about your character, whether you are open to new things for the organization and or whether you let your ego and your fear your fear of your own inadequacy, make you go
God
after that
will
person.
reveal to you sometimes, and he has to me several times, the fact that it really isn't about me. It could be insecurities on their end. I mean, it's just like someone being bullied, right? And they go home and they're treated that way. So they bring that behavior into their personal realm. And so, I mean, sometimes even in the workplace, you have to look a little deeper and try to understand people. One case at my job, This young lady just seems so cocky, like she knows what she's doing all the time. And I had an opportunity to talk to her former supervisor, and he said that that's a mask for being afraid that she's going to fail. And when I approached her in a different way, that came out. And she said, I just want you to be happy with my work. I just want, to feel like I'm valued, I'm contributing. And so now I realize it's just not, it wasn't about me. It was much deeper than that. And some people you don't have to dig deeper, because some people are just mean and you just need to exclude them from your personal space, period, in the story, right? But there are other times when, we have to work with people, and God will identify and bring to light exactly what you need to do in every situation to continue to thrive, if you ask.
He will. He will, knowing that there are times when God will show this person does not have your best interest at heart. You need to separate yourself
Absolutely.
or protect yourself from it. Like there have been times, I just dealt with one of those this week. I was telling you, where I was like, I need you to separate this person. Just, you have to, this person does not have your interest at heart. Separate. It didn't have to be ugly. And it's because I did it early, it didn't have to be ugly. But imagine if I'd been like, well, no, I mean, because, and then it dragged on to the point where we got to a different situation and got ugly. Some people don't have your best interest at heart, whether it's for fear or whatever it might be.
A couple of those too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, be excellent anyway.
I don't know if this has happened to you, but God is in the midst when you walk away and you're absolutely okay with that defeat. The peace that comes over you is amazing, right? And you just know when God is in it.
Yeah, you're right. In this situation, I had a peace walking away. Didn't feel like, oh boy, now what's going to happen? And feel like that. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. So that peace that surpasses all understanding, you got to do it when you're told to do it. The issues come up when you're not obedient, and then you're trying to figure out why you're in the middle of torment. And he's like, I told you months ago, you better walk away from that. And now you all entrenched and trying to figure it out.
Like I told you, and you heard me, you just didn't listen.
Right. Wanted to give
little things too. Like, so crazy. I went to the store and I picked up some soy sauce and some oyster sauce so that TJ could cook. And I'm coming in the house, I'm on the phone, and something just said, the oyster sauce is about to fall out of the bag. I swear, it was the craziest thing. And at first I ignored it. And then I looked down, the bag had tilted, the plastic bag had tilted, and it was literally sliding out and was about to crash on the concrete. And I grabbed it and just said, thank you, Lord, because I heard his voice clear as day, letting me know this is about to be disastrous and oyster sauce is going to be all over the concrete. So sometimes we just have to pay attention. So often we're so busy and we don't listen, and he's always speaking to us. And something as little as a bottle of oyster sauce in a bag.
You're exactly right. There are times he'll tell me, when I had my car, fill up your tank. And I'm like, but is it half a tank? Like, right. But then, as Gina told me years ago, when you find yourself arguing with yourself, one of those voices is not you. Those voices is God. And so, I'm like,
I love that.
And then you have to stop and say, okay, I don't know why I would tell myself to fill up the tank when there's half. So it must not be me.
Exactly.
Let me just go get some gas.
Be a reason. I don't understand it, but it must be a reason.
And there always is. There always is. Crystal said, she shared with me this past Sunday, she had a situation like that where she was visiting a friend, and she was told, go home right now. She was like, oh, okay. And she went home and her dog had gotten sick. Had eaten all the leaves off of some plant and thrown them up. And so it was really, really sick. There was stuff all over. And if she had come home any later, more plants would have been eaten, more sickness and whatnot. So she didn't understand it. She said, Connie, I never feel like I hear God speak to me like that. She said, I sat up like, just said, go home.
Right.
We have ears to hear. If we have ears to hear and if we're obedient, he'll tell us.
Yeah.
He'll tell us.
He will.
You know,
Amen.
save us from a whole heap of heartache.
Amen. Isn't that the truth?
You think about Joseph.
I've had my situations where I didn't listen.
Right? I can't even talk about the times I didn't listen. I only want to, I've repented so many times for those things. But Joseph, even in the midst of all of that, his brother selling him and, you know, Potiphar and his wife and all that before he got to work for, he still was excellent anyway. He was like, I'm gonna still be excellent. That's what I do. I'm going to be excellent anyway. And they put him in charge of this, put him in charge of that, put him in charge of the jail, put him everywhere he went, he got put in charge. Because he said, I'm gonna be excellent anyway. His own flesh and blood sold him into slavery. And yet, he said, I'm gonna be excellent anyway. Anyway, sister, do you have anything else you want to share before we get off our call?
Nope. Good word.
Sisters, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm going to sign off of Facebook now.